gentlemen, my name is Allan Friesen, also known as the Acapellist. With me is Brother Scott Sweetman. Hello, Brother Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, Alan. How are you tonight?
I am well. And the show tonight is like every Thursday night, H3, Health, Happiness, and Hope. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can bolster each other's happiness and health and hope.
Oh, I know we can. I know we can. And hopefully we'll have some left over for the folks that are tuning in tonight.
Perfect.
Via video or via our podcast, which will be launching pretty soon.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
So tonight's topic is the old adage, hate is a cancer and love is the answer. Have you heard that before?
I haven't, but I love it. Hate is the cancer and love is the answer. All right.
Yeah, okay. Actually, we sort of, over dinner, I was asked what our topic was tonight, and I said that was our topic. And Fleur was saying that actually it's part of an advertising campaign for a chocolatier out of the Middle East. Something I'm going to have to look up. But anyway, there's different versions of it, right? But this is the one we went with.
Nice.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Hate is a cancer, love is the answer. Is that just kind of one of those nice things that rhyme and are make us feel good to say, or do you think there's anything behind it?
Oh, no, I think there's a lot behind it. I think that, holding hate, holding anger, holding, those kind of things. One, it's a separation from others, right? That's what it does. But then secondly, the damage it does to you internally, right? So, because you have to kind of have it within you to express it outward, right? Same as love, you have to have it within you and for yourself to be able to express it outward. It is kind of the way I believe it works, right? Does that make sense? Resonate with you? Does it make sense?
It does, absolutely, with me. And I think that most of us sort of have an innate feeling that this is true. But in H3, we're always pushing for those hard probing questions. So I went looking to see, is there any scientific support for a statement that, like this, or exactly this statement, hate is a cancer and love is the answer.
Perfect. And what did you find?
Well, it's really interesting. So a few things immediately came up. Stress, right? There's been a lot of work for a long time on stress, right? That stress affects our autoimmune system and can really interfere with the way our body normally compensates or adjusts for outside stressors or influence like that. That's pretty well accepted, right?
Sure.
And they've gone the other way now, and they've looked at love and positive emotions, right? Like it doesn't always hold true that the inverse is a fact, right? Just because one side is true doesn't mean the opposite is necessarily true.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So they have been doing research on that, and there's been a lot of interesting studies over the last 10 years that love and positive emotions do reduce stress levels, looking at cortisol and, those hormones and better than I do. But I think that's pretty accepted. Inflammation over the last maybe 8 to 5 or 6 years, chronic inflammation has been a big topic of study. A lot of people out there suffering from chronic inflammation. You have some thoughts on that, don't you?
Well, you bet. Yeah. I mean, inflammation is certainly something that impairs your movement to move freely, right? And certainly causes all sorts of problems, some that you wouldn't even think, like eczema, skin disorders, often function of inflammation. Same as Alzheimer's also has linkage to inflammation, right? So yeah, there's like so many things that are inflammation is affected by it. And as you already identified, it's kind of the flow of what's flowing through your system, right? If it's cortisol, it's, that is fear or hate kind of inspired, if you will, or released, triggered, then that is what will certainly, fuel that damage to your body kind of a thing, and that limitation to your body or those limitations. And so whereas if you have a positive flow going through your body, and that positive flow generated by the positive emotions within you and love, that produces these tonic effects on your body instead of these toxic effects on your body. So yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. You bet.
Well, there was exactly on that topic. There was a study done in 2015. Title was The Positive Effects and Markers of Inflammation. Discrete positive emotions predict lower levels of inflammatory cytokines. Am I
Okay.
pronouncing that right?
Yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're
Uh,
cited.
by Jennifer E. Steller, etc. And it was in the journal Emotion. And it was really interesting. And they were looking at how the markers of positivity would correlate to markers of inflammation in the body. And they found in that study that there was correlation between the two.
Got it. So
So
with positive emotions, inflammation went down is basically what we're saying. They
yeah,
had an inverse
that's the long and
relationship.
short of it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
which is scientific proof that, you know, hate or, those negative emotions do create illness in our body. And scientists have been looking at this. Another one, and this is something that is really interesting. This is an article worth looking at, was Social Relationships in Health, a flashpoint for health policy. And this was by Julien Lundstad, Journal of Health and Social Behavior, 2010. Really interesting article. And this looked at how positive social relationships and encourage them at like a government or company level, an organizational level, had direct effects on the individuals as an opportunity to change the outcome of those things, which is pretty interesting.
Definitely is.
And
Definitely is.
what was interesting in this one is they looked at both quantity and quality. So, some people have a few really, 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 really close relationships. And then there's some people, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's seems to be more people that has a lot of more acquaintance type relationships. Acquaintance is kind of an antiquated word, isn't it?
Mm, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's still current. Yeah.
Yeah, I think of social media, right, where a friend is just somebody who happens to come across a picture they like. But yeah, no, this study looked at the quantity and quality, and they found that quantity has a positive effect, that we don't need to go out and find necessarily these really deep, you know, like our soulmate relationships to benefit, that, a few acquaintances can benefit our health in a very positive way.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So
Pretty
basically, in both cases where you're saying the depth of the relationship, how the qualitative part that it's a very, very strong connection kind of a thing, you might not need as many relationships in that case. Maybe it's only one that would, that would allow you to kind of express yourself, show your true self, show your authentic self, and be accepted and feel valued and loved in that, which is positive. Or maybe less deep relationships, but more of them that still could have that same balm effect on your BALM, not BOMB, balming effect on your emotions and your general system in terms of its functioning, right? That yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Interesting. They looked at some of the negative factors. This was a really interesting study. And so what they looked at is that social isolation is a form of torture, and it's been used, almost since recorded time on prisoners of war. Or think of what's it called in a jail? Isolation? No.
Solitary confinement.
Yes, thank you very much, Alan. Yeah, and how that has a negative effect. So one of the things that this said is that there is a negative effect of not having social relationships. It's not just if you have some, you'll get better. They were pushing the point that if you don't have them, that it actually affects you negatively. And they looked at when that isolation has been used to break down the not only the psychological but the physiological resistance of prisoners or people that are being tortured. And sort of what I took away from this is being on your own is a type of torture that affects us negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet. I've seen that. I see this whole power of connection thing, and like now for our a lot of initiatives with our provincial government, where they are encouraging more connection, especially for people who would run the risk of being more isolated, perhaps seniors, those kind of folks that have not as much mobility, not much interaction with community kind of thing. And the more they become disconnected from community and others, the worse that their health and well-being becomes, right? So yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how different cultures are trying to address that, from robots to importing, immigrant labor, which is, cheaper, not figuratively, I guess. I mean, in economic terms, to support seniors and people that generally suffer from that type of isolation as age and emotional processes occur. There's an interesting movie that I really want to see, and I forget what nationality they are, and it's a couple of ladies that are really advanced in age, and they have this great relationship, and it's their relationship. They tease each other, and they fight and carry on, and they both attribute that to their health and well-being. They both play, and they dress up and do all kinds of fun and exciting things. I can't remember the time right now, but I think it's on Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah, when I find the title, I'll share it with you for our next show. Another great research in Frontiers, Nicole Roberts, Mary Burleson, process linking cultural in-group bonds and mental health. So again, expanding upon these relationships is that culture that encourages these relationships also have positive effects. And so people who grow up in cultures where communion and interpersonal relationships are encouraged and valued tend to have statistically higher health statistics. And in cultures where isolation is, I won't say encouraged, I don't know if there's any cultures that encourage us not to associate with one another, but cultures where that's become less important, like a lot of advanced modern cultures, outside of your work group and your immediate family, you may not have any direct connections at all. And I know when we were in Asia, and when I was in Europe, living in these sort of cement boxes, like our apartment in Japan was completely sterile. There was no connection to the outside. The environment was completely our box, right?
So, yeah. I mean, we have that same here, right? If you live in town and you come up and you hit the garage door, and the garage door opens and you pull in and the door closed behind you, and then you're in this whatever 2,000 square foot home and you're by yourself kind of thing. You don't even know who your neighbors are. You can have that same isolation just by not taking the step outside and meeting your neighbor and having a conversation, right? So yeah.
Well, and I was thinking about this, and I know, like, I grew up in a religious tradition, although I had 4 different traditions in my family: Lutheran, Baptist, Catholic, and United. Is that the other one? Anyway, so we went to the United Church because that seemed to be the most neutral of them. I went to Sunday school, and we went to church. And the thing was that every Sunday, I grew up in a farming community. We discussed that before. Every Sunday was something to look forward to because everyone in the community took a break, and we all got together, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that we were all friends necessarily, but you were there for some time singing with other people and praying with other people and communicating in a shared experience. Right?
Yeah, you bet.
And organized religion certainly in our culture is in a decline. Lots of people, us included, I think, I don't go to church anymore, consider ourselves spiritual, but we don't go to a gathering or a group, worshiping, that type of thing. And I think that has cut off one strong source of community for many people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, makes really good sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think social clubs have sort of picked up on that. You belong to Rotary and some other big groups where people get together on a schedule and, share a meal and share conversation and things, right?
Yeah, and share, like, even in terms of Rotary, that you work together to volunteer to make your community a better place, right? There's things that we're we have a common goal, right? That is kind of a service above self is kind of the motto. And so how can we collectively contribute and make our community a better place, right? So, yeah.
So it kind of serves the purpose. I don't want to draw parallels, but it does serve the purpose of like a holy day worship, or it's where people get together and express themselves, right? You share
Sure.
that expression, and you're working together towards something. So yeah, this article talks about how that's a really really important thing, and culturally that we should be encouraging, because cultural is an ever developing thing, right? Culture is not a static thing. It changes over time. When you study history and culture, religion, one of the first things you learn is that it evolves every day, every week, every month. Culture's evolving and changing around us, and so we should try and encourage our culture to include those communal experiences, I think, for better health, from what I've read.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be that complicated, really. You don't have to join a club. You don't have to, pay a membership fee. You don't have to do those kind of things. I mean, sometimes you can have a connection with people that is more ad hoc, but still kind of, just brings connection and brings more joy and satisfaction with life by having those connections. So we're going to have a connecting thing coming up here pretty soon, Scott. I told you that I took that Action for Happiness course so I could teach that course.
Yes, and did Corolla get signed up? Is she going to teach with you? Yes, good job, Corolla.
Yeah, Corolla's taking it as well. And then there's a couple little steps we got to do yet, but our first course is going to be starting May 5th, Sunday, May 5th, and it's going to be 6 consecutive Sundays, right? And 7 till 9 o'clock. And then basically they're going to advertise it. They're going to get students who want to enroll on it. We'll probably even show a link on here if there's a registration link, and see if there's people locally who want to be part of that as well. So, yeah. Action for Happiness is a charity out of the UK. Amazing, it's very, very simple, but very, very effective. And basically they're kind of the three things they look at in terms of being present, being grateful, and being kind. And those are kind of the three sort of pillars of happiness as they express it. And how much more simple can you get than that, right? I mean, it's really straightforward. So, yeah.
Excellent. And when's that date again, Alan? Have you got that book?
Yeah, it's Sunday, May 5th, and then it's going to be from 7 till 9 o'clock, and we have to go have a joint interview with the facilitators, make sure that we're on the same page there, and then they're going to start advertising that course and getting people to join us in it. So, yeah.
Excellent. Is it something that happens online, or is it like in a location?
No, it's online. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So people could attend from anywhere. Like our show played all over the place. So
exactly.
You don't have to be in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, which is where we call home.
No, you do not. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. And in researching this topic, I was surprised. Literally, there's hundreds of studies that really are looking at this aspect where, hate's an incredibly strong emotion. When you talk about hate, I don't know, there's perhaps only a couple people I actually feel hate for, and I don't know if I truly feel hate. But where do you place hate on the spectrum of emotion?
Well, I think it serves absolutely no purpose, no positive purpose, but causes a lot of damage. So sometimes when I can't sleep, as an example, happens sometimes, just can't sleep. So then I will just focus on my breathing, and I am focusing on inhaling peace and love and connectedness.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm exhaling, I'm releasing fear and hate and anger and resentment, right? And so just that's what you're breathing in, and that's what you're releasing. That's what you're breathing in, that's what you're releasing, right? So and then with that comes what you're also releasing oh geez, what am I trying to say here? What you're also releasing is worry, right? You're not worrying, you're releasing that as well, right? So yeah.
Well, so, I guess, is hate the same as anger? Is it the same? Like I don't
know. I don't think so. Is it? Like, I mean, you could be angry about
I'm wondering. everybody loves somebody. I get that. Okay, love is, I understand that, but I don't completely know if I understand what hate is. Like,
Yeah.
there's like, do I
I
hate
here
Hitler?
here here's I guess how about this? Anger, you can have anger about a situation, but if it's
Hmm.
not directed at a person, right,
Hmm.
then I think like hate is anger directed at a person is kind of what I'd see
Right.
it, right?
Oh,
M-
I
m-
see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way, just off the
No.
cuff, that I think it might make sense.
Yeah, and I think maybe I was taking it too personal because when I said that, then I was thinking about hate crimes,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, yeah,
And that's when you take out an unreasonable anger on a group of people, or like you said, it's you can be angry because you stubbed your toe, right? And there's no one involved but yourself.
right. Yes.
I mean, unless your kids left something in the way, not speaking from experience.
Uh-huh.
but but no, but I think for hate you have to go that extra level. It has to be directed at an identifiable person or a group, right?
Yes, I think so. I believe that's how it works.
Yeah.
So
Do you think it's that common? Do you think actual hate is that common?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like I think, it's just if it is common, it's not going to be common for long because it's going to be so caustic on the person who holds that hate that their health
Mhm.
is going to suffer dramatically because of it. Eh? That's the way I'd see it, anyway. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I wonder, like, there's war zones and things going on around the world, and you wonder about what the people feel like in those situations, having never been in a war myself.
true. Yeah,
And I can't really speculate on what they must feel like. And I don't know. I think that hate. I hope that hate remains a confusing and mysterious feeling that most of us never actually have. I think the word gets brandied about a lot, but
right.
oh, I hate Chinese food. I don't. I like Chinese food, but people say things like that, but I don't think they actually mean hate in that way. Do you?
Right. No, I don't. I don't think so either. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I think that, like, for me, the business I'm in, the choice of words is really important, right? Like,
Sure.
it's important to be articulate. How you define a word can influence how people react to it. It can influence the loading that goes on in the meaning that's loaded into that word, etc. And I think that some words we use too casually, and I would put hate in that category. Uh,
Hmm.
when you look at all the negativities to our health and welfare, it might be good to be more articulate and say, well, I don't really prefer Chinese food, right?
Right. Right.
Is
Right.
more accurate, right? If
Yeah.
I'm starving, I'm going to eat dog chow, right? Like, I mean, seriously, but I may not prefer dog
Right.
chow, right?
Right.
But anyway, it's just an interesting thought. I think when we're looking at, hate is a cancer, love is the answer. Love is something we all can articulate, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think people a lot of times are uncomfortable with it, right? Because it's too, they're but I think if it is only positive attention is really all that love is, right? And that's the way I see it. And then if you think of it just as positive attention, well, it's not, you can have that for basically everybody in every situation kind of a thing, right? That, the person cuts you off and just like wave at them and say, all right, okay, that's fine. You give them the grace to say, yeah, you screwed up, but I'm not going to be honking the horn and screaming at you kind of thing, right? So that's positive attention in that setting, right? So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that often we get caught up in that, and we don't give love a chance. That sounds cliche, but when I was looking at the articles, the one I mentioned before was saying that one of the negativities of relationships, love, positive feelings, is that there is loss because everyone has a fixed expiry date. All of us do. That's part of the nature of being a living organism. Our culture doesn't really teach much to us about how to live with the knowledge that our time is limited, right? Like, that used to be more of a purvey of religion and sages and elders in our society to teach young people to come to terms with that. But I know I studied death in university in my religious studies degree, death and dying and expression of communities regarding those things. And a lot of people would come to me, classmates, and say, my uncle died. What do I do? I've never known anyone that died before. You study this stuff. What do we do? And I was really surprised that how many people had no context, no tools in their belt to deal with the death. They had no rituals, or, they had nothing to process the loss that they were feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've
But
been very, very fortunate. I have not had very many people die in my circumstance. Not many close people die in my circumstance, right? So, but I know there's others that have had, especially some of our Indigenous brothers and sisters. They might have, like, during this last year, they could have had 40 or 50 people die in there that they're connected with, right? And so, those kind of things are, I don't know how you deal with that kind of grief. It's got to be real significant for sure.
Finish this.
Alexa, cancel. Sorry.
Thanks, Alexa. Yeah, Alexa wants to help us out here. How nice. Yeah.
She's supposed to quietly warn me when our 30 minutes are coming up. But she didn't do it so quietly. So,
no.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that's fortunate. I know for me, a lot of people older than I am have passed away in my life that I loved.
Yes.
There's been a few children, 3 children that have passed away that the one in Turkey I didn't know, but people were sort of stepping over her body on the sidewalk. So that was pretty difficult to deal with. She had froze to death, starved to death. I'm not sure.
Wow.
That was hard. And then a young boy in one of our schools caught H1N1, and it took less than 24 hours and he passed away. And those were hard. Like, I have trouble sort of putting that in context. People older than me, I'm like, okay, that, like my granddad, he was like, yeah, I want to see your grandma. I'm sort of interested in what comes after this. I've lived a good life. He was 93. He was like, yeah, I've seen horses and spaceships and I'm ready for what's next. So, when he passed away, of course, there was some sadness there, but it's like, I wonder if Grandpa's getting to see what comes after this, because that's what he wanted to see. So fair enough. But yeah, anyway, I think that they're one of the biggest impediments to loving or being open or reaching out or creating those new relationships is fear of rejection and fear of loss. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. You bet.
Yeah. But that the other study that said quantity is just as important as quality would suggest that even, like the mailman you say hi to and you may not know their name, like our delivery guys here, Amazon, I should give him a Christmas present because I see him more than my kids some days. But jokes. But you know what I mean? And that type of relationship is pretty easy for most people. A hi, to make that little quick contact without that, deep stress that some people feel in making that connection. And from what I read, that's got value. Even that light level of connection, if that's what you can muster, you're going to be helping yourself. At least start there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The more connection we have, the more health we have in our bodies, and the more connection we have with other people, the more health we have in our community.
Yeah, and reaching out is really simple. If somebody's sitting at home right now and doesn't like meeting people, tune in to us and send us a text, and we'll talk to you, won't we, Al? We're always
send us a little email on the bottom of our screen. We got an email address. It's h3@allanfriesen.com. Send us an email and tell us you want to have a chat, and one of us will give you a call or connect and have a little video conversation with you. Yeah.
Well, and even though history, or if you've watched this show a lot, would suggest that both of us like to talk, we also both love to listen. Right?
Yes, that's very true. Yes.
So, I find a lot, as I get older too, I find a lot of peace and interest in hearing other people's stories.
Yes. Yeah, very true. Very true.
I think when you're young, you want to share your story because you're still out there trying to prove yourself. And not that we're old. I mean, we're still young, but I think we've got to the point that we have genuine interest in other people's experiences and stories, and we want to hear them.
Exactly. We've got something to learn from everybody we meet. And so, when you have that opportunity that you're, whether that's in the grocery store checkout or wherever it is, talking to the folks at the car wash or that, you have an opportunity to learn something from somebody else and connect with them, even if it's only just a smile, a hug, a wave goodbye, whatever it is, it's a way to connect, especially with kids. Man, it's exciting when you get a kid to smile or laugh. That's fun stuff. So, yeah.
My grandmother, she used to say, when I go to buy groceries, it takes about half an hour if I go by myself. If I take your grandpa, it takes 2.5 hours.
Yeah, he's chatting with everybody.
Yeah, and he hated shopping, but if there was a kid in a cart or a baby, he would just, that was it. He was like right over there and talking to him, shaking hands with him, and yeah, he was just, and it was amazing to watch because life in any form thrilled him, like absolutely thrilled him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
I never met your grandpa, but I like him. He's a good man. Yes. So,
you guys would have liked each other a lot, actually. But I was thinking times have changed a little bit, right? We have to be a little more respectful of people, and if you can't really just sort of walk up and reach inside somebody's crib nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're a 93-year-old man and a big smile on your face, maybe you can get away with it. But it's still there. We may have to change the rules of engagement a little bit, but society is still really open. I'm not one of these people that believe that every stranger wants you to stay away and don't talk to them, don't touch me. I don't believe that.
No,
certainly not how I am. Somebody sees me in a grocery store and says, "Give me a hug," I'm giving them a hug.
Yep, you betcha.
So cool. Well, that's a great place to end our show tonight. Believe it or not, we're only 2 minutes over.
Woo-hoo! That was pretty good. All right.
That might be the first time.
Thank you for joining us again. We'll see you next Thursday. And Scott, take us home there, brother.
I don't know if hate's a cancer, but love is definitely the answer. From the acapellas, my dear friend Allan Friesen and myself, Scott Sweetman, have a great week. And we'll see you back here next week at
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Get him, Hudson. Perfect. Thanks, Scott.
Live
from Florida.
That's right. So make sure you tune in every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. More independent artists, more videos, more Black-owned businesses, and more outreaches to the community, and more Chechi La Muñeca. All right. Jess TV every Tuesday night,